Going to get started here. If somebody comes in, we'll buzz in. We have two assistants today. We have Karina and Amanda, who's normally with us. So we'll get into what we call the world's greatest stretch position. So with this one, we get down onto the floor, almost in a plank position. Good. And then what we do is you bring the right leg up toward the right arm, and we twist toward the same side, and we hold it for 5 seconds. Okay, this opens up the hipsters, opens up the trunk, the arms. Hold it for 5 seconds. Once you've held for 5 seconds, that hand down. Send that right leg back, and then send the left leg up toward the left hand. Hold this lunge, twist to the left, and hold 5 seconds, and back down. We're going to do 3 more on sides. I'm going to let the girls continue. And if you guys want to get a little closer together so they can see. Good. And I'm going to see what you guys are doing here. You guys can angle your camera a little bit lower, Andrea and Manuel, so we can see you and give you some cues. There's only a couple of you guys. I'm expecting 1 or more. That way I can make sure you're doing it right. Again, this is called the world's greatest stretch. On the handout, it's called a reverse side angle pose, which is a yoga type of pose. Good, that looks good. So you should be feeling your hip flexors really working. Your thighs are working. So it's not only a stretch, but it's also a good warm up. So you start to get your heart rate going. So once you've held for 5 seconds, and you can bring it back down. And good. They're gonna do a bonus. We're doing okay? That looks pretty Manuel. Good, so you should feel the hip flexors stretching. You should feel the trunk stretching. Good. And how you bring the leg up is going to determine how much stretch you get. So those who are more flexible and can get the leg up a little higher will feel a little bit more stretching through the hips and hip flexors. Okay, good. So we're going to have our assistants here turn sideways facing either way. And we're going to do a plank to a down dog. Okay, and that's another warm-up stretch for your arms. So maybe back up just a little bit so they can see what's going on toward that way, away from the screen. There we go. Okay, that's probably pretty good right there. So get into a plank. Good, and then push yourself up to a down dog. Okay, so more of a yoga stretch. There we go. Lift for 3 seconds, and then back up, back down to a plank. Good, and down dog. 1, 2, 3, and into a plank. Good, so down dog. Down dog to be a really good stretch for everything, for your legs, your core, your arms, and down dog. Amanda, try to drop your heels down toward the ground and try to get that calf to stretch. If you're wearing shoes, it's probably a little bit better unless you have a yoga mat and plank. So otherwise, your feet tend to slip on a down dog. Good, and plank. 1 more each side, guys. Down dog. And 1 more time, plank. And good, take a break. All right, so we're gonna get started here on our squat and deadlift series. The first one, I want to differentiate a squat from a deadlift. I'll demonstrate here for you guys. A squat, which on the first picture that is given to you, they call it a sumo squat. I'm gonna do it from the side. Hang on a second, we're having a little bit of their interference. So with a squat or a sumo squat, you're going straight down, okay? So pretend you have something, you have some in your hand, even though you don't have to, and you're gonna go straight down, get as low as you can, keep back straight, and then push yourself back up, squeeze at the top. Back down, straight down, and squeeze at the top. I'm gonna give you this front view now. Go down, keep your knees pointing straight ahead, don't let them open up, nor cave in, and you push back up. Okay, so it's relatively a vertical movement from top to bottom. Okay, 1 more time from the side. Squat, keep your trunk relatively up tall, and then back up. Okay, so that's the movement. I'll let Amanda and Karina stop with this. There we go. That's a good idea. Okay, ready? Set. And we're going to do 15 of these guys. So when you're ready, go ahead, up, down. Hold for maybe just a second at the bottom. Okay. And then once you come up, squeeze the glutes at the top. Good, and then back. How low you go is determined on how hip flexible your hips are. If you're tighter in your hips, don't force it by flexing at your trunk. Just go as low as those hips will allow you to go. And you're bowing a little bit too much. Try to keep your trunk a little bit more upright. your left hip tightness may limit you on this one. I already tell you you're veering off to the right, which is okay. I'm going to see what's going on here. Looks pretty good, man. You got some decent hip range of motion there. Good. Now, if you have knee problems, please don't force this. Good. Good. So you guys are counting, self-counting to 15. Again, just an eye on your knees. They should start pretty wide, and they should not go any wider than where they start. Okay, so try to be good about keeping the knees in line from where they started all the way to the end. So take a break after you've done 15. We're going to do 2 sets. Okay, when you're ready, go again, guys. This is a great leg strengthener, glutes and thighs. Traditionally, squats are good thigh strengtheners, knees. But if you do the form correctly, you're going to get a lot of hip and glute activity, which is that booty going. And the booty is, to me, the most important muscle in your body when it comes to functional exercise, this walking, stairs, climbing, hiking. So you can see the difference in range of motion in Amanda versus Karina. If you're watching the screen, Karina's hips are fairly mobile and she's going down lower than Amanda is, which is fine. Everybody has the limitations, and we try to make exercise classes to adapt to everybody's limitations as long as they're not hurting themselves. When you get to the top, try to squeeze your buttock. Try to really squeeze the buttock as you get to the top. So you get the glutes firing. So right there at the top, squeeze. Good. Time, and I'm not sure what number you guys are on. Is that 15? Okay, so they've done 15, and shake it out a little bit. Okay. Okay. If you're done, you can just take a little pause and then just watch the screen for the next one. Is a deadlift. I'm going to use a light weight. I put on the handout to get away anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds. Okay. I have, this is what, a 12 pound, 15 pound, I think it is. Okay. You can use whatever you feel comfortable with. And in fact, the first exercise, we do not use a weight. In fact, you can grab me the stick real quick, Amanda. Okay. So the reason I have to have a stick, and you don't have to have a stick, is because it helps me cue a person who I'm training how to keep their back position during movement. And this is a deadlift. Okay. So don't be afraid to do a deadlift because it's a great exercise. The form is right. Okay. And the movement of a deadlift comes mostly from the hip joint right through here. And what you're going to do, almost like a bow forward with your trunk, as far down as you can. Notice that my knee bend a little bit on both sides, and I'm still holding my stick in complete contact with back and my head. And I'm bowing. I'm going to hold for just a second, and I'm going back up. Again, the initial movement is a bow, and then as you start to get lower, my spine stays straight, and my knees start to bend just a little bit, and then you come back up, and you squeeze your glutes at the top. If you want them less knee bend driven, keep the knees a little straighter, and you'll feel the hamstrings really pulling. And that's okay too, if you have that hamstring range of motion or hamstring flexibility. And then back. Okay. So it's a bow. You can grab a stick. If you don't have a stick, it's going to look something like you just bring your hands straight down your shins, stay here, and then you're coming back up. Your back still stays straight. And straight down your shins. To this point, I can't go any further without me bend knees. You don't want to bend your knees very much. It's a slight bend of the knees, keeping your back straight, stick to there, and then you're thrusting your hips back up and squeezing it up to get the glutes going. Okay, we got that?
Yes.
No, for the first warm up, the first 2 sets, no dumbbells, guys. We'll do that on the second exercise of deadlift. When you're ready, anybody want a stick? You guys good? Okay, so try straight down, fist down your shins. It's almost like you're doing a bow. Keep your back straight. 50 count. And squeeze at the top. Good. Try not to overextend on the way back up, Manuel. Good. Hands go straight down, almost like you're just dangling arms down towards your shins, and let them go straight down. Bow by moving. All the movement is coming from the hip. If you watch Amanda, she's doing a pretty good job of making the movement come from her hip. Keep your back a little straighter right there, and then come back up and squeeze. Okay, so the return back up to vertical, you really drive it with hips kind of thrusting forward, for lack of a better term. Okay, gotta keep this a little straighter through there. Squeeze your shoulder blades. There, and then back up. Good. And you will feel it is in your back of your thighs and your hamstrings, because they're lengthening. Won't be able to lengthen them any further. That's where the knee bend slightly comes in. You'll also feel your glutes really working to not only get you down there, but also to control the movement back up. Karina, that looks good. Your spine looks really straight. And these are bending just slightly, which is what we want. Again, you should feel the hamstrings and glutes. So once you get to 15, guys, go ahead and stop. On the next set, I'm going to just see a little bit more of a side profile for you, Andrea, to make sure that your form is good. I can see you at an angle, but I can't see your side profile, which I'd like to see a little bit better. That's probably good there. Pretty good. Good. Your back is staying pretty straight, Andrea. You're bending your knees a little bit more than I would like, but whatever you feel comfortable with, okay? So when you don't bend your knees as much, then you can't go this far, which you kind of have to find a balance between both. How far down you can go and how much knee bending you put into the movement, okay? All right, let's do one more set. That's the first set. It's kind of a lean set. You can use a small weight if you feel comfortable. If you still feel like you want to work more on the form and get the position correct of your spine, don't use a weight, because that's more to think about. So let's go. Wendy. Good. And thrust the hips back up and squeeze this, Amanda. Good. Squeeze the shoulder blades right there. Perfect. That little adjustment that you did makes a big difference. It'll allow you to get your glutes a little bit more, to control the movement more with your gluteals. Good. Now in the opposite, I'm going to have you take a step up so you can see here. Good. Now go. Okay, better. So you're not over in your back. Okay. Better. And back up and squeeze at the top. Andrew, that looks good. Now try to bend the knees a little bit less. Okay, just a little bit less. Okay.
So I don't need to get the weight to the ground, right?
No, you don't. Absolutely not. Only people who have really good hip range of motion, hamstring length, would get the weight all the way down. Okay. Manuel, I like the fact that you're not going so low, because it looks like your hip mobility is very limited, and that's okay. Just to make sure you don't go far enough that it's hurting your back. Okay. The worst thing with this is when you try to go too low and you start to bend your back and flex at your spine, and then that creates some muscle strain. Okay. We have a lot of patients in our clinic who have back pain, and this is an exercise that we do later on in their rehab. We have to take care of a lot of other things to get to this point in their rehab. So it is a very, very valuable exercise for me, especially for people who do a lot of lifting at home or at work. We definitely try to make sure that this form is really in line, make sure they prevent injuries. But in general, it's a really good strengthening exercise for your glutes. Okay, so we're going to move on to, we did the weights. We're just going to do a little bit of a stretch now, okay? Since we worked your hamstrings, we worked your glutes, we're going to give you an opportunity to stretch, and just find a step stool or a chair. You're going to put your leg up, and you're going to stretch out those hamstrings that are really working doing the deadlift. And just kind of leaning forward, again, flexing from the hip, keeping your spine straight, and then getting all the length you can out of hamstring. And you're going to hold that for 30 seconds. So when we started working with this class, we wanted to make it a class that was only working on your strength. I'm timing you guys, but also on the flexibility of your hips. It was originally called a hip and trunk strengthening and flexibility class. And now since we switched it over to a whole body class, still like to do a lot of stretching to make sure that you're getting still a little bit of both. Plus it gives you a little bit of break when you're doing your strengthening exercise to recover and stretch the muscles that you're just working so hard. So what I want to see, I'm going to correct both Amanda here. I want to see the back straight. You don't have to reach for your if you can't reach for the toe, that's okay. Just reach as far as you can as you keep your spine straight. There, spine straight. And go as far as you need to, but don't bend your spine. Good, let's switch legs. That's more than 30 seconds, almost a minute. And go again. And keep holding, that works pretty good. Good, and then take a break. I actually held that for a minute on the last one. On both of them, I held them for a minute, which I think is appropriate. I just didn't go too long because I didn't want to spend too much time with that. Okay, the next is going to be a hip flexor stretch with upper extremity reach. So I'm going to face you in this position first. This one, you're going to put your foot on your chair. Make sure the chair is nice and stable, and you're going to keep both feet pointing straight ahead. Okay. Nice and tall. You're just going to lean forward into a lunge position. Keep the heel down in the back leg and the back foot. And then once you get to that forward lunge position and you're on the stretching in this back, the front of the back leg, in my case, my left leg, hold that position and you're going to reach in both directions. Reach. And you're reaching. This is going to accentuate the stretch in different areas of your pelvis. Okay. Reach as far as you can and rotating. And maintaining that full lunge position, stretching that hip flexor. You okay? All right, let's give it a shot. This is, again, primarily a hip flexor stretch. To turn your feet so they're both pointing straight ahead. There we go, good. Same with you, Karina. Now forward lunge and maintain that position, that forward lunge, and now start to reach and rotate. Reach, good, and then reach the other way. Perfect. So that reaching will make it a little bit more dynamic. You'll feel a little bit more stretching through the hip flexors, your pelvis, and your trunk. Good. Good. Let's say we're going to do about 10 reaches to each side. Okay? And then we'll switch. That's probably equivocal to about a minute hold on each side. Again, I like to hold stretches for about a minute at least. And if you're really looking for flexibility, we sometimes will get up to 3 to 5 minutes of stretching. Hold yourself. So again, make sure I'm holding the chair here for Amanda because it's moving a little bit on her. You want it to be stable. This is a nice exercise. Manuel, I don't know if you sit for a living, but it looks like you do some sitting there to get up out of your chair and just do some stretching for your hip flexors because they do get very tight when you sit for long periods of time. Good, let's switch legs now. It'll be a nice stretch once you get your legs off because they were not only working in terms of strength, but you were also opening up the joints and the tendons here. When you're ready, lunge forward, both feet pointing straight ahead. Keep that forward lunge as you start to rotate. Good. So Amanda and Karina are in synchronous movements here. I like it. Somebody came into the class. I'm going to let go of the chair. Okay? So just try to hold yourself in. Okay. Okay, take a little break, guys. Okay, do you guys feel those hip flex working? Andrew, you doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Hi, Doris.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay. So you're going to have to join in on the hardest part of class now, so
That's
without
okay.
much of a warm-up.
No
But
problem.
I've known you for a long time, so I know what you can do, okay?
Yeah, and I'll
So-
try to do whatever. At least I take a look what it entitles and then for next time.
Okay, so don't be
Thank
afraid. What we're doing is actually somewhat difficult. These are called worms.
Okay.
And it's an exercise to help strengthen not only your core, but your arms as well, okay? I'm gonna demonstrate in this position so that we can see the movement of the exercise in an inchworm type of pattern. So we're gonna get down in plank position. Okay, so full plank up here. And this is a high plank, as we've been calling it. And from here, you're going to walk your feet up into your hands. Once you get to the point where you can't bring your feet up any higher, then you get your hands out the way, and you end up back in a plank position again. And then you bring your feet up again, walk them with your hands. Once you get to the point where you can't go any further, then you walk your hands out, and you're back into a plank position. And you keep going across the room where you're located right now, as far down as you can. And you keep going until, let me see how many I put on the handout here. We put between 5 and 8 inchworms. Okay, so if you need to turn around and back in the other direction, that's fine too. Okay, are we ready? All right, let's get into plank. Let's start it there. Hold your plank for just a second and then walk your feet up into your hands as far as you can. That's as far as these guys can go. Now they're going to walk their hands out. They're back in plank. Hold 1, 2, 3. Walk your feet back toward your hands and then walk your hands away back into plank. Okay, can you guys do it backwards? Can you walk your hands back to your feet? Good, and then walk your feet back away. Look at that. So you can go backwards and so you don't have to change directions. So they've already done 4 inchworms there, and they're gonna go in the other direction. Walk your feet up toward your hands. Good, and then walk your hands away. Very nice. Walk feet up towards your hands, walk your way, and then one more, just for good measure to get to the other side, and take a break, bring your knees down. So you can see throughout the entire movement, your core is working, your arms are really working, and you're getting some flexibility because you're moving your feet toward your hands and really stretching out the back and hamstrings. Okay, Andrew, you doing okay?
I'm good.
Okay, so we're gonna do one more. I'm gonna really watch you guys here and see what's happening. Okay, go ahead yourself up and let's see what's happening. Just the key is when you bring your feet up towards your hands and your feet, or your hands towards your feet, you're trying to keep your relatively straight. When you guys are ready, go ahead and start. So if you have really bad shoulder problems, arthritis, this is probably not the best one for you. They'll put a lot of compression on you. Good. That looks pretty good, Manuel.
Back.
Doris, I said you're doing well because I can't see you. Your camera's a little bit too high.
I know, I don't know what, and I'm trying to put it in the TV and I don't know how to put it on the TV.
Oh.
I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't do it. There.
Are you guys doing okay? Andrew, you doing okay? Your arms are okay?
Yeah.
Do it.
Just stretching my back.
You're good. That looks pretty good, Doris. I can see you now. We did about 5 to 8 of those. Okay, so now the last one exercise for today is an inchworm with a push-up in the middle. Okay, so when you go back to your plank position, you do 1 push-up. And if you can't do a push-up off your knees, then you can drop your knees down and do it on your knees, but then quickly get yourself back up into your plank and then into your inchworm movement. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, are we ready? All right, I'm gonna watch you guys the entire time.
Do
Manuel, are you doing
inchworm
okay?
and then what?
So
Can you repeat it?
when you're in your plank position, it's the same exercise. If we're adding a push-up during the plank phase. Okay, so you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. Okay, so if you're going forward and backwards, that's fine. You're just going to add the push-up when you're in the plank position. So right now they're going to start in plank, so I'm going to have them do a push-up. So do a push-up now. Good. And then walk it up to your hands and walk your hands away. And now do your push-up. And then walk your feet up to your hands, walk your hands away, and do your push-up. Good. And keep going. Hard on your wrist, hard on your hands. Just be careful with this. Andrea, was your wrist hurting you on that?
Yeah, my wrist got to me.
Yeah, so if it's bothering your wrist, sometimes this is very heavy. Could you do the push-up with your knees down, Andrea?
It still was hurting. Just my hand was already hurting.
Okay, just from the inchworm itself?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Then you can rest. They're not always going to be focused on, a lot of planks and wrist activities. We vary it up. But it actually, I'll give you some stuff, Andrea, maybe that you can strengthen your wrist. A lot of people have the same problem you do, is that they just get more tired They're limited more by the ache in the wrist than they are by the fatigue of the muscle.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because it's an old break there. that might
Yeah,
have
I
some
remember you had an
arthritis.
injury there. Yeah, yeah. So we'll try to give you some modifications. Not then it just may not be an exercise that your wrist can handle given that old injury. Okay, last set, guys. One more, and then we'll be done. Okay, Manuel, you doing okay?
Yeah.
How was this for you? Was this okay?
Yeah, I'm on actually porcelain tile, so it's kind of, this is not wood, it's porcelain tile. It's a little
Are you slipping a little bit?
No, it just hurts a little bit, but it's good. I'm doing all right.
Okay. All right, last one, guys, and we'll be done for today. Push up first, and then again, if you need to do it on your knees, do it on your knees.
Oh, push up? Okay.
Yeah, start with the push up when you're in the plank, and then do your inchworm, and then once you get back to a plank, then you do your push up.
I'm just doing push-ups on my knee.
That's fine. Good, Manuel. Okay, very good and good. Our two fabulous assistants here are done. You guys all look pretty good. Andrew, we'll have to work on that. I think your wrists are going to a limitation for you, but again, they're not always going to be plank centric, so
Right.
we'll give you modifications. Okay.
And can I do, I mean, some of the planks I can probably do on my forearms, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not, but this one obviously you can't just because it's
Right.
so driven by the high plank. Okay. All right, guys. Again, we always do what we can. We try to give you some modifications so that you can do the exercise. The biggest thing is that you guys continue to move, especially those that are at home right now during quarantine. And we'll be back again next week. Okay. See you guys soon.